Hello, I'm Bernadette, and welcome to Zarintha's Place. This is Mixie, and Mixie is my mascot. She loves to help out with taking pictures, overseeing the sewing, helping out with videos now. This is a new thing for her, so she might be a little camera shy. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of these little accordion wallets. I have two types here that I've made. One is the smaller one is the larger one. We're not going to make this one today, but I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. This is the smaller size, and this is what it looks like on the outside. And when you open it up, there's a nice little fashion snap on it, and this is what it looks like on the inside. You can see there's this accordion wallet insert that goes in here, and it can lay out nice and flat if you open it wide like this, which makes it very easy to sew it together. And so that's the small one. This is the one that we're going to be making today. The other one is a larger size because I wanted to try it to where you can make the bills lay flat in it, so it's the perfect size. This is what it looks like on the side, and then when I open it up, this is what it looks like on the inside. You can see there's some cards in there, a couple of dollars, so your bills can lay flat. And so that's what it looks like on the inside for this one. Alright, so we're not going to be making that one today. We're going to be making this one. And the piece that's vitally important in order to make this is the thing that's the insert, the accordion wallet insert. And this is what it looks like before it's sewn in. It has these wings on each side, and then this is the piece that's in the middle where you can put your cards. So let's go ahead and make this. Alright, so to make this we need a couple of things. I am going to be using this piece of cork that I have. It's just really cute with butterflies. You see the cute little butterflies on there, and it's kind of metallic and shimmery. And I cut this to be 4.5 inches wide, 9.5 inches long. And then you also need some Cordova or some waterproof canvas is what I'm using in here, some Cordova. And you cut that with the same dimension. You'll want to make sure that you're exact on your measurements on this. And then what I did, and I don't know how easy it is to see, but I also made some markings on the right side of this, the Cordova that I'm using. I have two little dots, one here and one up there, and that's going to be the locations of the snaps. And then I have some other little markings on the side. I've got one here, and the same on the other side, one here, 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 and here. And that's going to help guide where I'm going to place the insert. This one here is 1/2 inch from the edge. This is 2 1/4, 1 1/4, and then another 2 1/4 because the insert is 2 1/4 inches wide. Now you have some choices here. If you'd like to have a little bit more space between the edge and the start of your accordion wallet, you can make that wider. If you would like this to only be 1 inch, you can do that as well. 1 1/4 will help make it so that the accordion will spread out and you can have more cards in there if you have a lot of cards. And of course, you're going to need your insert, your accordion wallet insert. So we have that there. And then because I'm doing snaps on this, then I have my snap, and it's a fashion snap that I got from Ginger on a pre-order. And I don't know that she is going to be carrying these in her inventory. She has been doing a number of pre-orders, and this I think is the second or third one. So you can go over to her site, and she does pre-orders for these fairly regularly. So this is the fashion snap, the female side, and then the male side over here. So you need these 4 pieces. And I actually have the dies for my cam snap to help me insert these. Alright, and the other thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need some double-sided tape. Now I like to use 1/8 inch double-sided tape, but I also have some other sizes as well. I've got, let me find it, I've got some 3/8 inch that I might use for this as well. So we've got some options there for your double-sided tape. And of course you're going to need your sewing machine a mascot if you have someone who wants to watch over you while you're doing this. And there we go. Let's make it. Okay, I've talked about preparing the lining and the markings and where they need to go, but there's also a little bit of preparation you need if you're using a fabric that is not as structured. This cork isn't bad, but I wanted it to have a little bit more structure, to be not quite as floppy as it could be. Thinner leathers might need some structure. Quilting cotton, of course, will need to be interfaced, and you'll want to use something like, in this case, I've got some Salpa that I fixed here, but you could also use Peltex or Decaville Heavy. That would work as well. Whatever you need to try to make this a little bit more structured so that when it folds, it has that nice shape to it. All right. So what I did when I put this in here, you'll notice that it's not all the way to both edges. That's for a couple of reasons. One, you want to keep this out of your seam allowance, and you don't want it showing on the edges of your wallet either. So what I did is I cut this piece. It's about an inch shorter widthwise and about a ½ inch to an inch shorter lengthwise. And then to center this, what I did is I made some marks on the Salpa itself. You can probably see I've got the ½ inch mark, or the halfway mark, centered there, and the same on the cork, and the same on each side. I did the same thing so that when I affixed this to the cork, I matched up my center lines so that it was nicely centered. All right, so what we need to do, and I am going to do this raw edges. If you were using, say, a quilting cotton, you would want to cut the pieces larger so that you could fold over, so you wouldn't have raw edges on your cotton. And I would do maybe 3/8 of an inch wider, so that would be 3/4 of an inch wider and longer total, because 1.75 is 2 times 0.3/8. 3/8. All right, so you've got some choices now about how you put your lining, how you get it fixed into place. You could do rubber cement. That works well. I actually used that for this one here. I did rubber cement on the lining and then on the leather itself, and then fixed them both together before I went any further with it. For the other one, I used some double-sided tape, and I'm going to be using some double-sided tape on this one as well. So we have some choices. We could put the DST on this piece or on this piece. It doesn't really matter. For this case, I'm going to use the 3/8 inch. I want something that's a little bit wider. So I am going to start doing this, and I'm going to try to keep it out of my seam allowances. And when I say seam allowance, I'm going to be stitching at 1/8 of an inch around, at least once at 1/8, and then I may also do another one at around 1/16, just to give it some stability and a little bit of decorative stitching there. All right, so let's do 4 or 5 strips of this. You also want to keep, if you've got some extra sticky double-sided tape, some of this stuff can really gum up your needle if you're not careful, so do be cognizant of that. All right, one more piece. That should keep it nice and stable. All right, so make sure you smooth those things down so that they're nice and sticky. And then we can take it off. And of course, if you have nails, this is sometimes a little bit tricky. Okay, so once you have your backing off of your double-sided tape, you can fix this to your exterior piece. Now, one thing that you will want to make sure is if you've gotten a choice as far as which side of this is going to be the flap, and in this case I am making this be the flap, so I need to affix this so that the markings that I made are associated with that. So in other words, if you can, I don't know if you can see this or not, but on this side I don't have the smaller markings, and on this side I do. There's the 1/4, and there's the 1/2 inch, and there's the 2 1/4. So this is going to be my inside. This is going to be the flap side. So I want to fix these two things together and make sure they're nice and squared up. Okay, so I've got that on there, and you can notice that I do have a little bit that's off on this side. And when I measure, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is not quite even across that edge. So what I'm going to do is trim that up. Okay. Okay, so we have this now fixed with the double-sided tape onto our cork. And what I want to do at this point is to install the male end of the snap, which is going to go right in there. So what I'm going to do is make another mark on my cork. And I'm going to mark it at 2 1/4 in from one side and 3/8 of an inch up, because 2 1/4 is half of 4 1/2. So I'm going to make my hole punch right here. So I've got my mark there. And let's pull this back just a little bit. Take my hole punch. Put that in there like that. So now I've got the hole on that side, and I'm actually going to go ahead and punch the hole on the other side while I'm at it. Alright, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the male side of the snap installed, and it's underneath that. And you can probably, I put the dot there, but you can erase that dot later. I use some silver leather ink from Tandy, and you can get these pens with silver leather ink, and they're quite nice. Alright, so I'm going to install the female side of the snap, but one thing that you might want to do is to round the corners of your flap. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. If you have a punch, you can do it. If you don't have a punch, you could use your snap, because you've got that same curve, so you could put that down. I don't know how easy that is to see, but I'm putting that on there and then making a little circle. Just drawing that on there. And don't worry, because we're going to be cutting that off, so you won't see the marking. And then do the same on the other side as well. So I've got those two marks in place, and then I'm just going to take my scissors and round out the edges here. There we go. So this adds a nice little touch to it, because now you've got those rounded edges, and they're the same round as the snap that you're going to use. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert the snap here, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've got both sides of the snaps in place, and so that when this thing snaps up together, it will look like this. Pretty cute. So we're going to put the accordion in here before we sew it. We've got to get it situated in place so that it doesn't move when we sew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape on what would be the wrong side of this, or the inside of the little wing that's here. And we're going to do that on all 4 wings. And this time I'm going to use the 1/8 inch. And you do want to be careful not to go over the edge because you don't want this to be seen after you're finished. Okay, so I've got it on all 4 of the wings. And now what we need to do is to attach it to our wallet. And what I like to do is first you want to make sure that the finished side of your accordion is on top and the unfinished side is on the bottom. That's what these little cardboard inserts are in there. So what I'm going to do is I'll start with this side and I'll take off the double-sided tape on this side, the top of the double-sided tape I should say. Alright, and then I'm going to locate the 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to very carefully affix this flap right there between those 2 marks that you made, the 1/2 inch mark and then one at 2 1/4 inch, and you put it right on the edge. And just to make sure that it stays in place while I'm working with the other 3, I'm actually going to put a couple of clips on there so that it stays put. Alright, now we're going to do the other side. So take that off. And then you're going to have to turn this. You're going to have to turn this a bit, and you'll open up your accordion and bend it. So let's see, where is my other mark? It's very light, so I can't see it very well, which is fine because you don't want it showing when you're done. Alright, so you're going to situate the other wing right there between those 2 marks that you made on that side. And again, because it wants to come loose because it's not yet sewed in place, put your clips in there just to keep it steady while you're working with getting everything fixed up. So that's going to be that side. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Alright. We'll do the top one. And again, I'm going to put clips in there. And then the bottom one, and I'll show you what this looks like once I get them clipped into place. Okay, so that side is clipped into place. And this side is clipped into place. You've got all 4 sides clipped in there. One of the nice things about this is because this is an accordion, it does want to, it allows you to flatten this thing out. Alright, so let's sew this on, and I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And what you're going to want to do when you're sewing is you can push the accordion back and forth like this to get it out of the way when you're trying to sew. Alright, so let's do this. So I'm not going to backstitch with this. I don't want to risk any kind of a nesting or anything like that underneath. So it's going to be difficult unless you have a cylinder arm, but it's going to be difficult to sew it from the right side. So you want to make sure that you're sewing it from the lining side. And I also like to start from this area at the bottom. That's going to be the bottom. And I'm going to do this at 1/8 of an inch. I'm starting in this area here. And I know it's kind of hard to see my actual machine stitching here. And I'm used to using the cylinder arm where you have to hold the threads for the first couple of stitches. And that's actually a good habit to get into. It helps to reduce some of the nesting that might happen. And just so you know, the machine that I'm using is a Juki TL18, the QVP Haruka that they sell. Now you do want to be careful when you start around the edge here, because you can crinkle that top corner over. It can fold over, and you want to be careful not to do that. And then what you can do when you're going around your corner, if you can't follow it exactly, it does help to lift your foot and go one stitch by one stitch, and that helps get you a nice corner stitch there. And if it helps to do your stitching, you can wait to put on this piece of the snap until after you're done. I'm actually going to pull through my thread here before I get to this spot, just to make sure that it doesn't get caught in the stitching. Just there, and you can tie that off if you wish. And now for the leather ones, I actually, let's get that out of the way. It's getting stuck. It's not getting sewed in, it's just getting stuck on the needle as it's going up and down. So I'm going to go meet up where I started, and then I'm not going to cut it, auto cut it. I'm going to lift and then cut like that, and then we'll tie off the final stitch as well. And I started to say that for leather or for thicker fabrics, you probably want to use a thicker thread. This is a finer thread. It was easier to use. And it doesn't really matter so much with something like this, because you don't really have any weight that you're pulling on the thread. But if you have a regular bag, you want to make sure that you can't break the thread with your hands. Otherwise it's too thin. Okay, and so there, it's now sewed on. These pieces will, the wings are going to fold inward when you close this. So they'll create another accordion on the inside, another accordion flap like that. And that's snip. And you're going to want to trim up your edges. If you're going to use any edge paint, you can do that as well. I might do some Tokonol on this, but this is what it looks like. And what I might do with something like this as well is to put it under something heavy, just for a little bit, like my iron, put something on top of it, and then put it under the iron to help flatten it out. And it's that easy. Thank you very much. Mixie thanks you. And we'll see you in another one.